Hey there, it's Chris. Welcome back to the sculpting phase of the Yoshitaka Mono mobile platform project, where finally, between sessions, I've gone ahead and hardened all of this stuff. So we good, we in there, and gotta love that face. Like I said, I don't know if that's mid's face or not, but I really like it, and I think it works out really well on this. So that said, have a bunch of things I want to get done this session. So if you followed along the other models I've done, the ones that are about 10 inches tall, between the Kai and the Bang one, they've each taken about between 30 and 35 sessions to finish the sculpting phase before getting to the painting phase. And each of those were at an hour long. So I figure they're about 30 to 30 hours worth of sculpting that got into there. If we're lucky, today will be the final one on the sculpting front. And this will be, I believe this is session 10. And they're about 45 minutes apiece. So we're going to compare the 30 to 35 hours of the others versus roughly 7.5, say, to 8 hours on this. Scale makes a difference. Scale does make things go by so much faster. That said, goal today is we got to make the back of the head, make the neck, get the hair on here, and we need to add, he has the, what you call it, the hood that goes behind. So a bunch of things we want to get done. And probably among the first things I should do is cut the wire that's sticking up here, that we don't need it to go literally anywhere near that height. So let's go ahead and trim you down. I can always trim it further. Let's start here, and we can always trim it further. But that's going to be plenty, because that'll stick up still halfway through. So that's going to be fine. So I don't need that sticking out of this everything we do. Okay, next we need to make the back of a head. So, although that's all nice and good, let's go push this down. We're going to get ourselves a little bit of clay to work with. Just enough to kind of fill the back of the head here. Actually, I have ears and stuff I need to. This may not get 100% done this time, but I think we're going to be close, and then next time we'll probably be finishing off things and maybe combine that into priming all the stuff. But first thing I want to do is glue the back of the clay on here, because again, glue doesn't like sticking to anything that's not glue. Let me get my hands out of the way real quick while that does glue things. And I don't need to get it all over my fingers, which is already kind of too late, because I already just did. And I'm missing something. So what we want is just a little bit of new clay on here that then we can stick everything to. So I just want to get a little bit of that behind him. And I do have some left over on here that we can then, or I can feel some that's kind of in there. So I want a little bit on top too to get the head on there. And I think I need to come down just a little bit because I'm not sure I'm on camera, which would be super cool if I could get on camera. Okay, so now with that in, we can just keep adding stuff to the back of the head until it starts feeling like a head. This should just take a minute or two to kind of get this into a rough size. Again, I don't need it exact right now. Although it would be. No, it actually doesn't have to be exact, because again, when I do the hair is going to be adding even more volume to this. So all we want kind of is the rough size right now. More important part is we're going to get this, then we can bring it down and have the neck go onto the head and kind of connect it all in here. So kind of get a rough skull shape, big enough so that we can then, get the neck to come off it correctly. And he kind of has a little bit of a pencil neck, as you might imagine. He's not exactly a lifter. He doesn't, that's not his forte. He's a little skinnier in a number of aspects. It is part of who Mid is. Mid is the ultimate scientist. If you're a Danganronpa character, he is the ultimate scientist. I guess he's more the ultimate researcher, would be his forte in life. He's the ultimate researcher. I think Sid is actually more like the engineer slash scientist. Mid is more the behind the scenes researcher dude who kind of helps make everything possible. Okay, we're already starting to get the skull shape going. So let's start kind of working it down a little bit till we get to the neck. This isn't good. My hands are already kind of cramping. I'm not sure what I did today to make that possible. I haven't done much of anything today to make that possible, so that's not a good sign. All I did today was go and... Really, all I did was record the latest Ultra session that just went out this past Sunday on the barbed wire crawl stuff. And otherwise, it's been kind of a quiet afternoon. It's nice to kind of sit back and really kind of do nothing for a day. It's good to have those days every now and again. So today was just kind of one of those, yeah. Just chill, don't worry about stuff, and just let the body relax a little bit. Because there's always stuff to do. It is important to sometimes just take time out and just not do something for a little bit. And not feel guilty about not doing something for a little bit. That's the important part. That is always the important part. If you have those days you just don't feel like doing stuff, worst thing then is to feel guilty about not doing stuff. So I'm not going to feel guilty at all for just finally taking a morning off or an afternoon or whatever day off. It was more than just a morning. I worked this morning on that video, but just kind of taking the afternoon off and not doing much. That and tomorrow is going to come up, or yeah, this past Sunday from your perspective will have come up, and my goal is to do a 15-mile trail run on that, which was going to be a bike ride, except after last week's 30-miler, I realized because I haven't been cycling that much, my back is not going to be too happy with me on a bike for 50 miles. So we're going to swap back in and see if we can do trail running instead, which is probably better for this race anyway, but that's going to come down and see how the shoulder winds up in the end, if the shoulder will survive or not. So I'm one of those darned if I do, darned if I don't. If I do the bike, my back may not make it. If I do a run of any sort, my shoulder may not make it. But danged if we're going to try one of them tomorrow. It's all good. When I get to the race, everything is fine. Again, it's an obstacle course race. We're moving things around. Things are always in motion. My shoulder will survive because of that. It's just when it stays in kind of a roughly static position for a while, it becomes problems. So, all right, we're starting to get a neck going in here. This is good. Again, the head doesn't have to be perfect because when I do the hair, that will fill out a lot of kind of that skull shape. So let's not be too worried about that. And I'm just looking at the clock. We're 8 minutes in. I'm just going to go ahead and say we're going to be close to finishing this, but not quite going to have this thing finished this session. And if that's the case, that's fine. I can do like half the next session, can kind of finish things off, and I can spend like the second half just doing the priming end of things and kind of get ready for paint. Because I'm actually kind of looking forward to painting this one. I don't know, the wood stuff, the wood carving things that I painted, all that, I wasn't really happy with any of that process, but I feel a lot more confident about getting this painting phase done more correctly, I should say. Hey, look at that. Look at that happy face. Okay, so if he's going to be in there... Alright, so now, usually when I get that going, now our goal is to just kind of get it so it would blend in. Even though the head is going to be removable, I still want this to be able to have a flat bottom, although the back of his neck is going to be hidden by the hood. So really only just kind of the front here is the only part that's actually quasi-visible. Back part is going to have that hood, so I'm not as worried about that. That's not the piece I was looking for, or the tool I was looking for, not the piece. I do kind of want you back here. just need a little bit to kind of get in here. Oop. Okay, we can see we just have just a little bit in the front. Right over there. Get that part and we good. And then by and large, at least then, yeah, in about a little over 10 minutes, we have, generally speaking, the skull and neck kind of in here, which is good. Comes down. Doesn't look particularly well, but that's going to be, part of that is a function of kind of taking it on and off. Sometimes it takes a couple times of taking it on and off, kind of squishing and pushing in, squishing and pushing in, before it really kind of feels right in there. So that's, there is a little bit of playing on that front before it just feels right. That said, I think I want to shrink the back of the neck just a little bit. If I can shrink the back of the neck while he's on camera too, that would be awesome. That said, I am not doing the glasses this session at all. I have a couple ideas how to do that, but I'm not 100% committed on which method I want to use on glasses. That's going to be an interesting detail coming up in section. If you had watched previously, I kind of defined this thing by 5 sections this whole project kind of is going to fall into. One was doing the globe, one was doing the carving, one was painting the woodwork on the platform stuff. Session 4 was sculpting him and kind of painting him, getting him done. And section 5 was kind of doing a lot of the detail kind of work, the little kind of odds and ends that are really going to make everything pop in the end. And I think putting glasses on him is kind of feels like it's going to be one of those section 5 deals, just one of those fine detail areas that if it works out well, that's awesome. If it doesn't work out particularly well, and then I'm not going to be super concerned. He does work. It's not like I didn't mold the eyes on here. He does have that going for him. So it's just one of those, it would be nice if I get it going, but it's not necessarily a be-all, end-all. But we will try our darndest to get those glasses to look good in the end, because they do kind of, if nothing else, it gives a visual interest. Actually, no, in this image here, it doesn't really, because they're clear in this image. It's only the other image where, again, we only have 2 images. In this one, they are yellow. In this one, they are clear. So it really only is the one where it kind of becomes an actual thing. Okay, I keep trying to take more off of this because I did give him a little bit of a beefier neck than he needed. So we're just kind of shrinking that down as need be. And I think we're getting to a point where I can either do, actually it might be nicer to focus on the hair and the ears rather than the scarf, because I can, or the scarf, the hood, because again, if I don't have time to finish things, I can always then harden the head with the hair stuff and come back and do the hood after everything is kind of hardened and done. So let's see, let's swap back to you, and what do we have? We have, they're actually not huge ears on him. So you look, that's gigantic. We need like half that size. Yeah, somehow in my brain thoughts without looking at this, I kind of felt like it was a smaller head with bigger ear kind of look, but just kind of looking at it now, that's not really the case. Ears, I cut that in half, and guess what? They're still huge. It still almost needs to be cut in half again. Oh boy. These things are so small. This scale is so small compared to what I'm used to. Okay, so ears always kind of start at the height of the eye, and it comes down to about, still too big, comes down to about that mouth-ish point. If you look at yourself in a mirror, you can kind of see how big things are, but shape is wrong, but I think our size is now a little more correct. Okay, so we have one ear on here. Let's go get the other one. Do I need to add more to this, shrink more from this? Or this just fine as is? I think you're a little, I was going to say a little smaller than the other, but you might be actually kind of okay. Helps if you're a little farther forward. You're a little misshapen. That's part of what the problem is. You're not shaped like an ear. Alright, come on, get in there. I kind of want this before I do hair. Alright, I think you do need just a little bit more material. So let's add just a little bit more to this. And hope that everything I'm doing here is on camera, because I haven't really looked over. I'm just assuming my hands are in the right place. Whoop. There we go. Okay, so we have some ears going. This is actually a little harder to do, I feel like, on camera, just because the scale is smaller. I want to bring it up closer so he's bigger on the screen. But I know this camera here doesn't focus particularly well. So I'm trying to resist the urge to pull this thing up to the screen to kind of show it off bigger than what it is. So bear with me on that. There's a little bit of this back and forth, and I'm not sure I'm winning this battle on any of this head stuff that's been going on so far, just because this scale is not as cooperative as I want it to be. Could be a little better. Could be a little better, but it's just, yeah, my gut instinct is like, oh, bring it up close to the screen, bring it up close to the screen so you can see things. Then I do that, and I look at my screen, and I go, oh, oh no, no, that's not working. Okay, so I'm just going to add. Again, I'm not going to go super, just because of this scale, I'm not going to go super detailed. I'm just kind of hollowing out a little bit. I'm not doing all of the detail that goes inside an ear. We're keeping it a little bit more ambiguous, and whoa, 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 as I drop him off the table. I just kind of do just kind of enough to kind of show that it's hollowed in there, and I don't need much more. Okay, now being that I did drop him slightly, let's go stick him back on here, stick it up, and make sure the neck is still kind of okay. Alright, so that's in business. Alright, so we have ears on him now. That's looking good. So now we start getting into hair, and hair is where I feel like I'm never in control. I never feel like I know what I'm doing with this. But then I do something and it just works in the end. So, yeah. I mean, I still have the hair from before. It's not going to be much different than that. He's just going to... He's going to need that. He's going to need those glasses. He is 100% going to need those glasses. This hair is not going to be as helpful, I think. And looking at the two images, both this one, come on, and that one, I'm not 100% sure where the part is on this. It's almost like it parts way over, way kind of on the side and comes over, but I'm not 100% sure which way this goes. But I think I'm going to make it kind of the same way I did this. Just kind of get the rough mass of the hair put on and then just scrape it off. And that's going to give us hopefully what I'm looking for. So that said, I don't think we need super much on here. I just need to make sure I'm not blending it in with the head as it comes. And you kind of come around and it kind of comes down behind the ears. So it looks like we kind of come down to there-ish or something like that. Maybe make it just a little bit thicker so I have material to work with on here. But maybe not like that. Oh, I hope the volume and sound and all that's working nicely on this, because again, it makes me nervous when I've been using kind of the same sound setup for everything I've done so far, and all of a sudden now I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I'm going to see if I can play with this slight echoey effect that we've been getting, and we're going to see if we can do something about that. So I did run some test runs before this. It seems like it's improved, but it still makes me just a little nervous whenever you change a setting on one of these. Just because. If you've never tried to record something before, maybe you don't understand. But changing settings that you've been using for a while is always just, you cross your fingers big time that you're getting it right. So if you can't hear anything I'm saying right now, you can yell at me in the comments section. That's great. If you did just hear me make that comment, maybe don't do that. Be much appreciative. And just bear with. Okay, so that's going to kind of come down. Again, all I'm doing is getting a rough massing on this, and then we'll actually add hair as we go. But first we need to get this rough kind of form down without completely destroying the shape of the head. Now this is very, if you have seen the other models I've done, this is very different from how I usually do hair. Usually I'm just like adding strand at a time. It's being kind of very methodical. This is very, very unusual for me to do a mass of hair like this at once. And then, yeah, that's just, and then kind of style it from there. So this could take a little bit of, yeah, getting kind of right as we go. Okay, I think there's a part that's kind of in that middle there, but it doesn't read necessarily as a manicured kind of part that we usually see, or usually kind of, that's the wrong tool, that we usually kind of think of. But changing things up like this is how we learn stuff too. So we're going to try this and see if this way works. If it does work, that's awesome. If this way doesn't really work so well, well, that's cool too. We'll learn something from it. We're going to be learning stuff together. That's kind of the way we go about doing this. We're always kind of learning things together. And this neck area is 100% messed up at this point, but I should have realized it was going to do that. So that's on me. So I think generally speaking, our part is going to be down here. You're a little bit under. You're going to be a little bit in there. And let's just go and kind of mess up his hair here. This is a very scientific way of doing this. Trust me. But we're about to find out if it works or not. I do want to keep. I do kind of need to be careful of where I'm sticking my hands now, because that can mess it up. But he really doesn't have that many kind of strands that are really sticking out super far on anything. I can bring that up a little bit so I can make individual strands kind of come out as such, but do I need, I think he almost wants, actually it's not looking too bad. I'm like, he almost wants longer hair than that, but at the same time, I don't think it looks terrible for him. Alright. If this works, this will be like the fastest hair I've ever done. And that's gonna be awesome. But I'll be honest, I feel like I'm worrying less about this than any other one I've done. Probably just because it's a scale and just because there is so much other stuff going on with this model. This is just really you haven't seen the rest of the model now for several weeks. I put that aside. It is out of the way. You haven't seen the rest of the project now in quite a while, and yeah, this is just a small detail of it. And I think because of that, I'm feeling a lot more laid back, say, on getting this kind of thing right versus not right versus kind of doing super detail stuff that I would on the other models versus this where I'm not. And I think that's kind of one of those important things to keep in mind too whenever you're doing whatever it is you want to do, is just keeping things in perspective on just your size stuff, what's important in the things, what is worth putting time into, what's maybe not putting as much time into, depending how much detail work you want to do or whatnot. But I mean, this actually looks like a legitimate head of hair. And that took about 5 or 10 minutes to do. And I'm okay with that, except the neck now doesn't really fit anymore. But we now need to fix some things. And then I want to test some, again, like I did before, that little bit of a glasses look to it, because I just want to make sure it all kind of works. Now, then again, I'm fairly sure nobody watching this even knows who the character is, because he is kind of a more insignificant character from the game. So even if I don't have the detail out, like I don't have glasses on there, I don't think anybody's even gonna know. But let's just kind of do what I did last time. I have these nice little clay shades. Let's just go and pop. If the book wasn't there, I would have hit it correctly. One kind of goes up there. One would kind of go over here. It fell somewhere. I was about to say gone forever, then nope, suddenly it wasn't. So if he has his shades on here, yeah, I think the shades help. Glasses really do help with it. It just makes them so much nicer with the glasses. And when I actually make real glasses on that, it's gonna look even better than this. It's just part of a mock-up. But I'm actually not feeling too bad about that. Half hour in, and I kind of actually like that hair, and I really don't want to do anything else to it. So I'm not. Okay, so other than that, we do have a hoodie to make. And once again, what I want to do with this is I just want to get kind of a flat piece here I can bring around. I need it actually longer than that. Okay. I just want to have it kind of circle the head. And it's going to need to come down something like here. Oh, that is, we are getting into the ultimate prep look right now. Yep. Yep. So our goal is, just like I did on the head and the hair there, I want to give a little something of glue that then comes around this, and I can then physically attach this to. Oh, I just knocked his glasses off. So that's going to come there. Let's go. Nope. I want to keep that kind of as is. Let's get the other glasses that just fell off. Or glass. What's a singular for one lens of a glass? Is it just glass? I mean, it is part of glasses. Lens. I know it's lens, but two lenses make glasses? I'm sure there's a weird plural thing going on with that. That my knowledge of English, I've only been living here for 43 years. You'd think my knowledge of English would be better than this. But what I want to do is just put a row or like a little ring of glue kind of in that area, stick this to it, and then I can build off of that as I go with the next parts. Okay, so the idea is just kind of knowing roughly where that is. Kind of same down here as long as, let go. As long as I know roughly where that is, that can come down, and just a little bit kind of on the back so that can come down. Because then, so long as I have that, what I can do is I can take some of this off of the side, get the head kind of back on here, and I can always refill some of this again up to the neck. But I do want to make sure the head will fit back on here. Yeah. Okay. So good. Head is on there. It fits. That hood is going kind of where I want it to. So now, let's turn you. You got to be kind of looking towards the book. Otherwise, what's this point of having a book that's open? What's the point of me having these two tools? I shouldn't have this one with the point out. I don't use that one so often, and all it's doing is just kind of getting in the way of me getting to the tools I want to use. Okay, so that's going to come off. Let's bring you down right now. You're kind of the same. I can cut that part off. Again, I can always add more to that section as need be, but I just need that off so that I can add a little. I don't think I need to add that much to this, really. Yes, we have kind of the hood coming down here. Get a little bit of a hollow kind of form in that. That's all good. Yeah, we can add, make it feel a little bit more like it has folds or something going in here. Camera. we're getting there. This is going by pretty dang expediently, and I'm kind of okay with that. If things want to go quicker than I thought, I'm 100% on board. Because we get to a point where I just need to kind of do little touch-ups off camera and harden it, that's great, because we can just start the painting part next session. That would be awesome. And painting, like I said, painting on this should go by much better than painting on the other, so don't just disappear for this painting phase. Also, it's going to be much faster. Again, he only has so many colors, so this should go, again, that should go by pretty quick too. So even if you're not super into the painting side of things, just hang tight. You can make it. We're not going to be on it that long. It'll be just watching this thing kind of come to life as quickly as it should be worth the price of admission on having to make it through another painting session. We've already watched the globe be painted. We've watched most of the platform part be painted, but I know there's still one more section here that has to be done, and we will do it. All right, I do need a little more on this one side. And then we need to make sure I can still pull the head off and have the head come off and on. That would be helpful. Although technically, I probably could get away with just keeping the head in here and not having it be removable, because I could probably get a paintbrush in there without too much issue. But at the same time, it does make painting easier if I don't have that already kind of, if I can have it so it can be removed. So for the sake of making things easier for the next step, it would be nice to make sure I can pull it on and off. Okay, that's it. I do kind of actually want that a little more down on the shoulder. It can pop up as it comes around. I do kind of want that down here. But that is kind of our figure I'm going for. Outside a couple little touch-ups here and there, as soon as I take the glasses off and kind of use my nearsightedness to see all the stuff that's wrong and kind of touch things up, that really is kind of our dude. I'm feeling pretty good about this. I think he looks really cool. I like it. Way to go. One more time, let's see what happens when we add our quasi-unfinished detail to this. But the nice thing too with making glasses separate is I won't necessarily need to have them on, so if he does look kind of weird with them on afterwards, I can always take it off. So I know Bang had that big kind of fist thingy that kind of went in front of his, like his pile driver thing went in front of his fist, and I never wound up using that. So if I realize I'm not super into the glasses, I can always just kind of not put them on. But no, I think at this point I'm ready for hardening. There we are, just kind of doing a quick once over on this, and then one last time just because he looks good without them too. And then next time we're going to start painting. So I said I think we're in there. So yeah, this took roughly a fifth of the time as it did to make the other ones, to make a character who is half the size of the other ones. So it's been good. And that's where we're going to stop here. And next time this setup will change and I'll break out some paints and we'll start trying to make him look even better. Awesome. And until then, and until that next time comes, enjoy.